Anthropic just dropped Opus 4.7 fast same capabilities as the full model, but at 6x the price. I need to show you when that actually makes sense. Here is the map for this video. First, we start with Claude Opus 4.7 release same model, then we move into Opus released fast model. Then we compare up to 35% more tokens. Then we test better than 4.6. Then we check promo ended April 30. Then we stress test Claude Opus 4 new. Finally, we close on fast or standard. Opus 4.7 fast is the same model, but the price tag is 6 times higher, and that changes everything about. Let's cut through the noise. Opus 4.7 fast is not a new model. It is the exact same Opus 4.7 that Anthropic released on April 16, 2026. Same hybrid reasoning, same 1 million token context window, same state-of-the-art xhigh bench scores. Nothing changed under the hood. So what is it? It's a deployment mode. Anthropic runs the identical model on faster infrastructure and charges you a premium for the speed. How much of a premium? The standard Opus 4.7 costs 5 per million input tokens and 25 per million output tokens. The fast variant costs 30 per million input and 150 per million output. That is 6x on input and 6x on output. This matters because if you're building something where latency kills the user experience, a chatbot, a coding assistant where the developer is waiting, an agent that needs to respond in seconds, you might pay that premium. But if you're running batch jobs overnight or processing documents where a 30-second wait is fine, you're literally burning money for no reason. OpenRouter lists this variant as released on May 12, 2026, and the provider page confirms it's the same model with a speed boost. No new waits, no new training run, no new benchmarks. Just faster hardware and a fatter bill. The 60x price only makes sense in 2 specific scenarios, and if you're not in one of them, here's the real question. When does paying 60x actually make sense? Because if you just pick fast by default, you're going to burn through your AP, budget in days. Think about it this way. The standard Opus 4.7 is already a fast model. Anthropic built it to be responsive. But fast mode cuts latency further. We're talking about responses that stream back noticeably quicker, which matters in exactly 2 scenarios. First, interactive chat. If you're building a product where a user types a question and stares at a blinking cursor, every 500 milliseconds of wait time increases abandonment. Fast mode can be the difference between a product that feels snappy and one that feels sluggish. Second, real-time coding assistance. Developers using Copilot or an IDE plugin expect completions to appear almost instantly. If your agent is generating a function and the user is watching the output stream, speed is a feature, not a luxury. But here's the catch, and this is where most people get it wrong. If you're running a pipeline that processes documents, generates summaries, or evaluates code overnight, the standard model at 5.5.25 is the only rational choice. You're not watching the output. You don't care if it takes 10 seconds or 30 seconds. Paying 6x for speed you'll never see is just bad engineering. The new tokenizer silently increases your token count by up to 35% on code, and that multiplies with the... There's another layer to this that most people miss, and it applies to both the standard and fast versions. Opus 4.7 ships with a new tokenizer, and it's not just a technical footnote, it changes your real cost. According to Karo Zieminski's detailed review, the new tokenizer can increase token counts by up to 35% on code-heavy prompts. That means the same code you sent to Opus 4. 6 might now consume more tokens, and you're paying for every single one of them. Let's do the math. If you're using fast mode at 30 per million input tokens, and the new tokenizer adds 35% more tokens to your code prompts, your effective input cost isn't 30, it's closer to 40, 50 per million. On the output side, at 150 per million, you're looking at over 200 effective. Suddenly that 6x premium becomes more like 8x on real-world code workloads. This is not a bug. It's a consequence of how the model processes text now, and Anthropic doesn't hide it, but they also don't put it on the pricing page. You find out when your bill arrives. And there's more. Zieminski also flagged 3 API changes in Opus 4.7 that can break existing code. If you're upgrading from Opus 4.6, your integration might not work out of the box. So you're paying more per token, getting more tokens per prompt, and possibly rewriting your API calls. That's the real cost of upgrading. Opus 4.7 is a real upgrade over 4.6, but it's not Mythos level, and that changes how you should think. Before we even talk about fast mode, we need to ask, is the base Opus 4.7 worth its standard price? Because if the model itself isn't a clear upgrade, paying extra for speed is just polishing a turd. Good news, Opus 4.7 is genuinely better than Opus 4.6. Anthropic's own benchmarks show notable improvements in advanced software engineering, especially on the hardest tasks. It hits state-of-the-art on xhigh bench verified, which is the benchmark everyone in the coding AI space cares about right now. The vision capabilities got a serious boost too. It handles images up to 576 pixels on the long edge, which is over 3x the previous limit. If you're doing document analysis, OCR, or working with diagrams, that matters. But here's the nuance. Opus 4.7 is less broadly capable than Claude Mythos Preview. Anthropic is upfront about this. Mythos Preview has stronger cyber capabilities and broader reasoning, but Anthropic deliberately reduced those in Opus 4.7 for safety reasons. They also added safeguards that automatically detect and block prohibited or high-risk requests. So what you're getting is a model that's excellent at coding, great at vision, solid at complex multi-step tasks, but not the absolute frontier across every dimension. If you need maximum capability regardless of cost, Mythos Preview is still the ceiling. If you need a workhorse that's safer, more focused, and cheaper than Mythos, Opus 4.7 is your model. The question is whether fast mode pushes that workhorse into Mythos pricing territory without Mythos level capability. Quick aside, if you study from your own notes, try Mnemonic. It turns PDFs, slides, and recordings into summaries, mind maps, flashcards, quizzes, and exam practice. The free plan is enough to test the workflow. Link in description. Then we go back to the video. That Copilot promotional pricing you might have heard about, it ended April 30th, and the real multiplier. If you heard about Opus 4.7 through GitHub Copilot, there's a detail you probably missed, and it already expired. When Anthropic launched Opus 4.7 on April 16, GitHub Copilot offered promotional pricing. The idea was to let developers try the new model without immediately burning through their premium request quotas. But that promotion ended on April 30, 2026, 2 weeks. That was the window. Now the premium request multiplier is set to 15x. So if you're using Copilot's premium request allocation and you select Opus 4.7, each request counts as 15 against your quota. That's not a typo, 15x, and this is on top of the base pricing structure. What does this mean practically? If you're a heavy Copilot user who got used to Opus 4.7 during the promotional window, your quota is going to evaporate much faster now. You need to be selective. Use Opus 4.7 for the hard problems, complex refactors, multi-file changes, debugging sessions where you need deep reasoning. For autocomplete and simple completions, stick with the default model or you'll hit your cap in a day. This is the pattern with these premium model integrations. The launch window feels generous and then the real pricing kicks in. If you're budgeting for Copilot usage, factor in the 15x multiplier, not the promotional rate you might have experienced in April. The new xhigh effort level changes the fast mode math because more reasoning means more latency, which there's one more feature in Opus 4.7 that interacts with the fast mode decision and it's easy to overlook. Anthropic introduced a new effort level called xhigh. Before Opus 4.7 you had low, medium, high and max. Now xhigh sits between high and max and it gives you finer control over how much reasoning the model applies to your prompt. More reasoning means more thorough answers, but also more output tokens, more latency, and more cost. Here's why this matters for the fast mode decision. If you're using in fast mode because you want speed, but you also crank the effort to xhigh or max, you're working against yourself. High effort levels increase thinking time, which eats into the speed advantage you're paying a 6 premium for. You're effectively paying more to go slower. The sweet spot for fast mode is probably medium or high effort, enough reasoning to get quality output, but not so much that you negate the latency gains. If you need xhigh or max reasoning for a complex problem, you're probably better off using the standard model, accepting the longer wait and keeping your costs at 25 per million output instead of 150. This is the kind of optimization that separates people who complain about AI costs from people who build cost-effective systems. The knobs are there. You just have to know which ones to turn. Let's put this all together into a decision framework you can actually use. Use Opus 4.7 fast when 3 conditions are true at the same time. 1. Someone is waiting for the response in real time, a user in a chat interface, a developer in an IDE, an agent in a customer-facing workflow. 2. The task is medium complexity or below. You're not asking for a multi-step reasoning chain that requires max effort. 3. You've already confirmed that the standard model's latency is actually hurting the experience, not just slightly slower. Use the standard Opus 4.7 for everything else. Batch processing, document analysis, code review pipelines, test generation, summarization jobs that run overnight. If no one is staring at a loading spinner, you don't need fast mode. And here's my honest opinion for most developers and most use cases right now, the standard model is the right call. The 6x premium is steep, and the speed difference, while real, only matters in a narrow set of latency-sensitive applications. If you're not sure, start with standard. You can always switch to fast later if you measure a real user experience problem. Switching the other way from fast to standard after burning your budget is a harder conversation. The tokenizer cost increase applies either way, so factor that in regardless. And if you're on Copilot, remember the 15x multiplier. Be surgical about when you invoke Opus 4.7 at all. If you want me to benchmark Opus 4.7 fast against the standard model side by side, drop the word test in the comments. Hit like if this saved you money and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss the comparison.